Hello everybody, Calamity here, at least that's what the Steam Bird will put in the newspaper. Today's video is going to be a very short guide to help new players out on how to build Bennett. I've already made an in-depth guide on him, so this one's going to be really short. And the reason for this is because you can grab a free copy of Bennett in the current event that's going on right now with the toy makers. You can get your Bennett for free just by doing the event. You accumulate points and you'll be able to get him for free. With that being said, we're just going to go over some talents, weapon options, artifacts, and what substats you're looking for, as well as team setups, and of course his quote-unquote controversial C6. We have a lot to go over, so let's get started. So Bennett's role in the team is primarily a healer slash a buffer. He gives a huge attack buff to his teammates, making him a great choice in, well, a lot of teams. But let's go over what his elemental skill and burst do. First of all, his elemental skill has two variations. It has a hold version and a press version. The version that we mainly use is the press version. It's just a quick flame strike that does pyro damage. The reason we do this is because it generates a bunch of particles, has a short cooldown, and it's also really good for breaking shields. If you do the hold version though, it does have a level 1 and then a level 2 version. The reason we don't like to use the hold version is because, well, one, it takes a while to charge up and you can get interrupted in the process and take a lot of damage. Two, if you get to his level 2, it actually will knock Bennett back, which is not what we want, and that's a huge waste of time. And not only that, it will increase the cooldown, as we can see here, up to 10 seconds if you do his level 2 charge. Now, for his bread and butter skill, Fantastic Voyage, this is where the magic happens. Bennett is going to slam the ground. It's going to like punch the ground like an anime, attack move, and it's going to create a circle. As long as you're standing in the circle, your active character will be healed as well as receive a huge attack boost based off Bennett's base attack, and that's the key word here is base attack. So if we go back one sec and go to his details, and you look at his attack right here at the top, you'll notice there's two numbers, a white and a green number. The attack that the buff uses to increase your teammate's attack is the white number. So the only way to increase this white number is to use a weapon with a really high base attack and to level up Bennett to 90. So if you get attack percentage on your artifacts, for example, or other, buffs, that's only going to go to the green number, and that is not going to affect the buff that he gives via his burst. Moving on to weapons, you might notice mine's using a 5-star, but hey, if you have a Skyward Blade, you got in the standard banner as a lucky pull, it's a great option for him. But let's scroll down here and show you some other options. If you are new, chances are you only have some 3-star weapons. A good one is going to be a Skyrider Blade. This just gives you a bunch of energy recharge as a substat, which is good. Speaking of energy recharge as a substat, that's pretty much what you want for Bennett. So but when you're picking a weapon for him, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, having energy recharge as a substat is a great choice. Or you could decide to give him a weapon that just has a high base attack. An example of that would be a prototype Rancor. This is a weapon that you craft in Mondstadt. While the substat and the weapons effect don't really help Bennett in any way in his support build, it does have a high base attack, and that'll mean a higher, buff from his burst. Sapwood Blade also being another example of this. It has a really good base attack as well as energy recharge as a substat. Unfortunately, the weapons effect isn't really valuable because, Bennett isn't really used with Dendro teams. Obviously, you can't put him like Aggravate or Hyper Bloom, and he won't be able to be proccing this weapon's effect for the elemental mastery, but it still is a decent option for him. Favonia's Sword, also another decent option for him. It does give him a lot of energy recharge and makes him more of a battery for his team. Just don't forget to give him some crit rate, just a little bit, if you decide to go this route. And another weapon worth mentioning is the Alley Flash, but this is a weapon banner weapon and you can't craft it. The only reason I recommend this weapon is because of its really high base attack. It has even higher base attack than the Skyward Blade. Speaking of 5-star options, the other 5-star standard weapon banner that you can acquire is the Aquila Favonia, and this is one of the best options you can give to Bennett because it has a really high base attack, although the physical damage does nothing for us. The weapons effect also gives Bennett a straight up 20% attack increase. This should be noted that this does not contribute to that white number we saw earlier. This is going to give you more green number, but it's still a nice thing to have. On top of having a really strong elemental burst that gives a lot of attack, the Noblesse Oblige gives your teammates even a further boost with a 20% attack boost as well. So when you pop your burst, they'll get the initial attack buff from Bennett and then another 20% from the Noblesse Oblige. For a support Bennett, one of the best substats you can give to him is HP percentage and energy recharge. This is going to increase his healing because that's what it scales off of, is his HP. Energy recharge so we can get that burst back faster. When we get to the Sands, one of the best main stats you can go for is an energy recharge. Also, holy cow, the crit damage on this artifact is wild. I didn't know I had that on him. But hey, alright. Energy recharge, main stat for your Sands is going to be his best option. For the Goblet, HP percentage is going to be your best option for more healing. And then when we get to the Circlet, your choice of either HP percentage or healing bonus, whichever one you find and has better substats. Constellations for Bennett. We're going to skip the first 5 because they basically make Bennett have a little bit quality of life, more healing, a little bit more damage here and there, which is nice. Now we get to C6, and this is where the quote-unquote controversies start happening because of its effect. C6 allows Bennett's burst to infuse your weapon with Pyro. This means that any teammate that's using a sword, claymore, or pole arm is going to do pyro damage with their normal attacks instead of, well, regular damage. This can be bad for some teams like Eula. If you plan to use Bennett with Eula, this is a really bad constellation and means you can't use Bennett with her, because with Eula you want to do physical attack damage, not convert it to pyro. So when you're deciding on whether or not to C6 your Bennett, a good example will be to take a look at your character's kit. A lot of the times, Hoyoverse will tell you if the infusion that the character has cannot be overridden. So for Noelle's case here, when she uses her burst, it will convert her damage to geo damage, and it says right here, cannot be overridden by any other elemental fusion, which means she's okay to be used with Bennett C6. In my opinion, I would just activate the C6 because the amount of teams that it ruins is so small. The only team that I think is really good with it, with Bennett, is the Eula team, but honestly, she'll be fine without the Bennett, and you can feel free to use a different teammate. Ultimately, it's up to you whether or not you want to activate his C6 or not. I plan to once I actually get the Bennett from the event. I'm just waiting on the next part of it to unlock. Lastly, we have some team setups for Bennett here. Ignore the team name on the bottom left, and with his upcoming rerun banner in just over a week from now, Bennett is a fantastic teammate for your Tartaglia. He's the healer on the team, as well as giving everybody on this team a huge attack buff. He can buff Zhanling's burst, which snapshots with his ult, and of course he'll be buffing your Tartaglia's damage as well when he's doing his dual water swords. In fact, Bennett and Kazuha are one of the best duos you can bring to just about any team because of their synergy together. Another popular team that Bennett is used in is the Raiden's International team, so my bottom left name is actually working here. Bennett being on this team for a huge attack buff to Raiden's Shogun. And don't forget, his C6 does not affect Raiden's Shogun because when she uses her burst, she does electro damage that cannot be overridden. So his C6 is only going to benefit you because it actually will buff Zhanling's pyro damage by 15%. And this would be the free-to-play variation of the international team without Raiden. We just use Chongyun instead. You could also use Rosaria or Sucrose and or Kazuha, depending on what characters you've pulled for. Now, real quick, to answer your question, how does conversion work? Because Chongyun also converts normal attacks into cryo, and if you have C6 Bennett, his burst will also convert your attacks into pyro. So how does that work? Well, it goes in the order of elements, and pyro is always going to be the first and foremost top priority element, so your attacks will do pyro damage even if you have both of their conversion fields active. Okay, we're just going to do a quick demonstration to showcase Bennett's burst here and to show you just how much you're actually getting when you're buffing your teammates. So we're going to use our assistant here, Noelle, to showcase just how much attack she's going to get from Bennett. So if we look at her base attack right now, it is actually really low than what it normally should be, and that's because she's using an under-leveled weapon right now. I gave her a level 70 white blind, so the attack should definitely be a bit higher. But that being said, her attack right now is at 991, as we can see. This is before any buffs are applied. So if we swap to Bennett and we use his burst, and we swap back to Noelle, go back to that stat screen, and we can see that she gained over 1,000 and some change attack here because she's at 2,162 attack. Now keep in mind that this is even before Noelle uses her own burst to buff her attack even further. So the Noblesse Oblige definitely just pushes that buff just a bit further. Hopefully now you can see the benefits of having a well-built Bennett in your team. I'm sure a lot of the Genshin veterans that decide to watch this video would agree that Bennett is a worthwhile investment, and he will definitely carry you throughout your entire Genshin career, all the way from early game up until your Spiral Abyss runs and, you know, beyond that as well. Very, very good healer, good attack buffer, used in a lot of teams. He's definitely going to be of value to you throughout the entire game. Don't feel like you have to build Bennett in the way that I showed you in this build. If you feel like you want to build him in a more DPS way or experiment with other artifact sets, feel free to do so. This was just a quick and, well, hopefully quick guide on just how to get him up and running as soon as possible. If you feel like I missed anything, or if anyone else wants to chime in with extra new player advice for Bennett players, feel free to do so in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a like and or subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.